Hello friends, welcome to Knowledge House. Right now we'll be looking into today's The Hindu newspaper. So as usual we'll be giving importance only to articles that are important from a competitive exam like UPSC perspective. So I welcome you all to this video. So let's start with the first article. So a three-bench Supreme Court bench to hear the Article 35A issue. So we discussed a slight background of this yesterday. The Article 35A states defines the permanent resident in Jammu and Kashmir. Who exactly is permanent resident in Jammu and Kashmir? And also it explains certain kind of entitlements that are available only to such permanent resident people. So some of the privileges include only such people can own property there, and only such people can apply to government jobs there, and various other things. So the constitutional validity of this particular article was under check. So it now the matter is under the Supreme Court. So this article says that the Chief Justice Deepak Mishra on Monday orally observed that the Supreme Court will consider whether 35A article giving the special status to state and the people of Jammu and Kashmir is violative of the basic structure of the constitution. So anyway, the application has been taken by the Supreme Court. That's all important about this news. Moving on to the next one. It is about the appointment of Justice K.M. Joseph to the Supreme Court. So yesterday we noticed that the Supreme some of the judges of the Supreme Court were to express their disappointment to the Chief Justice because Justice Joseph, who is really senior to two of the other newly appointed judges, was to swear in. His seniority was mentioned as lower in the government order. So anyway, the following the expression of their disappointment to the Chief Justice of India met Attorney General K.K. Venugopal on the issue of the government altering the seniority of Justice K.M. Joseph, who is scheduled to take oath today morning. And so the crux of the whole article is that even if the government didn't change as it is that is even if the government didn't change the seniority of Justice K.M. Joseph according to the wish of the other judges of the Supreme Court, the appointment of Justice K.M. Joseph or his arrival to or his membership as a part of the collegium of the Supreme Court. The collegium refers to one of the five senior most judges of the Supreme Court. So even if Justice K.M. Joseph's seniority is even if the government didn't do anything new regarding Justice K.M. Joseph's seniority, his membership or his presence in the collegium in the later part of the year will not be affected. So anyway, there will be no tangible or there will be nothing. Even if the government didn't do anything regarding the seniority, he will retire as a senior judge of the Supreme Court. That's all important about this particular article. So moving on to the next one. It is regarding northeastern states. So three northeastern states emerge as the new HIV hotspots. So the good news is that there has been a steady decline in the number of HIV cases in India. And the bad news is that Meghalaya, Mizoram and Tripura emerged as a new hotspot for HIV according to the data of Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. So the issue came up in the Lok Sabha during a discussion, and the most interesting part is that ART, that is antiretroviral therapy, leads to effectively suppressing the virus and reducing the transmission of HIV from the affected person. But the availability of such therapies in northeastern states is under question. And in terms of persons living with HIV who are already on ART, that is again antiretroviral therapy, Maharashtra has the highest number, followed by Karnataka, followed by Andhra Pradesh and then Karnataka. Anyway, the issue to be noted here is regarding the presence of such or the intensity of this kind of incidents in the northeastern states, and also the effectiveness of antiretroviral therapy and the access to antiretroviral therapy to the far lying states. So that's all important about this particular article. Moving on to the next one, it is regarding the NCBC bill. So NCBC refers to the National Commission for Backward Classes. So Rajya Sabha has given nod for the NCBC bill. That's what the news is all about. And the legislation was passed by the Lok Sabha with over 2/3 majority on 2nd of August. So the bill extending constitutional status to the National Commission for Backward Classes was cleared unanimously by the Rajya Sabha on Monday. The Lok Sabha had passed the proposed law on 2nd of August with more than two-third majority. So, in a reply on the debate, the Minister of Social Justice and Empowerment, Thawar Chand Gehlot, said that the NCBC would not encroach upon the rights of the state government, as they would only have their own backward classes commission. This is really important here. That is, the particular authority to be created will not encroach upon the right of the state government, as they will have their own commissions. And also he said that the states had their own list of OBC caste, while the center had a separate one, and that the NCBC would make recommendation only to the center. And Mr. Gehlot said that the government would immediately constitute the commission. So that's all important about this particular article. And the important things to be noted here is it will not encroach the rights of the state, and the state's OBC list and the center's OBC list are different things. And this particular newly created body, that is NCBC, would make recommendations only to the central government. So moving on to the next article, it is regarding the SC/ST amendment bill. So this was also discussed yesterday, and the Supreme Court recently made an amendment, Supreme Court in its comment, in one of its comment, criticized certain parts of the bill, or actually cut down certain part of the bill. It's like it brings in certain kind of negative effects on certain people. So the Supreme Court also mentioned about the misuse or the intensity of misuse of that certain provisions of this particular bill. So Lok Sabha has passed the SC/ST amendment bill. So this was brought to bypass the Supreme Court ruling that diluted certain provisions of the law. So the Lok Sabha on Monday passed the Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribes Prevention of Atrocities Act Amendment Bill 2018 to bypass the recent ruling of the Supreme Court, laying down the procedure for arrest of the act. So the bill will now go to the upper house. So the bill inserts section 18A in the 1989 Act that says that preliminary inquiry shall not be required for registration of an FIR against any person. So Supreme Court said that preliminary inquiry should be done before making an arrest or before registering a case. And the bill also inserts section 18A(1)(b) says that the investigation officers shall not require approval for the arrest, and the Supreme Court said an approval should be obtained before making an arrest. So everything has been done to circumvent the ruling of the Supreme Court. And also the new bill also says that if necessary, any person against whom an accusation of having committed an offence under this act has been made, and no procedure other than provided under this act or the court shall apply. That is, no court ruling has to be observed while taking action under this article. That's what all important about this particular news. And the provision of section 438 of the code shall not apply to the cases under this act. That is, notwithstanding any judgment or order or direction of any court. That's what this article, the section 438 of the CRPC, deals with the direction of the grant of bail to a person apprehending arrest. So that's all important about this particular article. And one more thing to be noted here is that Supreme Court had on March 20 introduced protective provisions in the SC/ST Prevention of Amendment Act, that is permitting the anticipatory bail and laying down a preliminary inquiry before taking any action, and also requiring permission to be taken before making any arrest under this particular law. So I'll repeat the whole the crux of this article once again. So the bill inserts section 18A in the new act, which says that preliminary inquiry shall not be required for this registration of an FIR against any person. And the bill also inserts another provision which says investigation officer shall not require approval for the arrest, and if necessary, of any person against whom the accusation of having committed an offence under this act has been made. And another important thing to be noted is the provision of section 438 of the code shall not apply to this case. That is, section 438 deals with the provision of bail to a person apprehending arrest. So that's all important about this particular article. Moving on to the next one, it is regarding an amendment in the Lok Sabha to make adoption part easier. So the government introduced an amendment to the Juvenile Justice Act of 2015 in Lok Sabha on Monday to empower district magistrates, that is district collectors, with the authority to grant adoption orders. So it will make adoption procedure faster for prospective parents by avoiding delay in courts. So the Juvenile Justice Care and Protection of Children Amendment Bill 2018 revises the provisions that governs adoption in the JJ Act by making changes to the section. Various sections has been mentioned here, and where the word court has been replaced by district magistrate. That's all important about this particular article. Moving on to the next one, it is regarding bill for death in rape cases has been cleared. So a bill awarding a maximum sentence of death to those convicted for raping girls below 12 years of age was passed by the parliament on Thursday, and the whole issue came up in the aftermath of two unfortunate incidents that happened in the northern part of India. One was in Kashmir, and the other one was in UP, and it replaces the criminal law amendment ordinance that was promulgated on April 21st following a public outrage over the same issue which I mentioned before. So the amendments have been made to the Indian Penal Code, CRPC, and Evidence Act, and the POCSO Act. Accordingly, the minimum sentence in cases of rape of women has been increased from 7 to 10 years of rigorous imprisonment. So in cases involving girls below 16 years, the minimum punishment has been gone up from 10 to 20 years of age, which is extendable to life imprisonment. So that's all important about this particular article. Moving on to the next one, it is regarding an international news. So yesterday we discussed something regarding the citizenship clause called citizenship by investment, and I mentioned that in Antigua and Barbuda, this particular island, the government has a provision which grants citizenship to certain businessmen who invest an amount an amount of 1 crore rupees equivalent in their country. And also there are various other countries that provide citizenship on the basis of such kind of investment. So this particular news says that a notification has been published by the government, and according to the Gazette notification made on public Monday, the government directed that the provisions of Extradition Act 1962 shall apply with respect to Antigua and Barbuda. And India has no extradition treaty with Antigua, but has discussed with the officials in Antigua the possibility of using a clause in the Extradition Act of 1993 of that particular country that extends similar procedures to all 53 countries of the Commonwealth that the former colonies of UK are part of. So these notifications constitute an extradition arrangement between India and Antigua and Barbuda under their Extradition Act of 1993 and provide the legal basis for extraditing offenders from each other's jurisdiction. And the government also said on Monday, stressing that the countries only have an arrangement but not an extradition treaty. So I hope you have understood the matter. Anyway, I am going to repeat it once again. So a notification has been published according to which the provisions of the Extradition Act of 1962 shall apply with respect to Antigua and Barbuda, but currently India has no extradition treaty with this particular country. But there is a particular law in Antigua and Barbuda, that is Extradition Act of 1993, which extends similar procedures to all 53 countries of the Commonwealth. Since India is part of a Commonwealth, we also come under this particular provision. So the notification constitutes an extradition arrangement, not really an extradition treaty. So the notification constitutes an extradition arrangement between India and Antigua and Barbuda under their Act of Extradition 1993 and provide the legal basis for extraditing offenders from each other's jurisdiction. That's all important about this particular article. Moving on to the next one, it is regarding the tussle between US and Iran. And the US President Donald Trump on Monday told Iran to change its destabilizing behavior or risk further economic isolation, hours before the reimposition of sweeping actions against the Tehran, though he left the door open to a new deal. So the first phase of US sanctions against Iran went into effect midnight, targeting Iran's access to US banknotes and key industries including cars and carpets. So I hope there is no much to be delved into this particular article. Only thing is the first phase of sanction has been put under place, targeting industries and US banks, and targeting access to US banks and US certain US products that are currently available in Iran. He said that Iran had always welcomed. That is, the Iran counterpart has mentioned that Iran always welcomed negotiations, but the Washington would first have to demonstrate that it can be trusted. Anyway, let's look into how the things are going to evolve, because after Donald Trump has become the president of the United States, we have seen a lot of flip flops, especially with regarding to their diplomatic relationship with various other countries, including North Korea, because he initially Trump went to the extent of no, terming the North Korean premier, that is Kim Jong Un, a madman, and right now after the meeting, after the bilateral meeting, he went to the extent of calling the same man the one of the most loved by his people. Anyway, let's see how things are going to evolve with respect to US Iran deal. We also have some implications regarding this. So that's all about this particular article. Moving on to the next one, it is regarding the Maldives election. So this particular news, or it has to be delved into the recent crisis in Maldives, out of which it was touted by many experts as an opportunity was lost here where India could play a role, and dismissing opposition claims that the Maldivian presidential election might be postponed. The ruling Progressive Party of Maldives, that is PPM, has assured that the poll will be held in September as scheduled. So the Election Commission of Maldives in June announced that the presidential election will be held on September 23rd. Anyway, right now we are not in a very positive relationship with Maldives, because they have embraced China much better than India. So that's all important about that particular article. Let's see how things are going to evolve in Maldives, because once a new president comes in, definitely there will be a change in the current equation between India and Maldives. So moving on to the next article, it is regarding the comment of a noted economist, Kaushik Basu. So he said that the leaders must step up efforts to preserve India's global image, and the whole article revolves around certain the news, that is his comment on the recent incident of lynchings and various other things that are hurting India's global image. Hence, the corporate and the political leaders must collectively work together to undo that particular damage. That's what the chief economic advisor and the former chief economic advisor and the ex-World Bank chief economist has said on Monday. So in economic policy, you make one mistake and do one thing correct, and things get corrected. That's the social and the political strife troubles me. That's what I am quoting his words here. And this is a time where the news that you get is hurting India's global image. The lynchings, the narrow-mindedness, and we have to work collectively and the elites across the board. And I am not just talking about the corporate elites, even the political elites have a responsibility. I was just quoting his exact words here. Anyway, let's see. Let's see that how or let's see undoing, some kind of undoing of that particular damage will happen soon. So that's all important about this today's news. Thank you very much for watching this video. And if you like this video, please hit the like button and do share it with your friends. And for various kinds of PDF, you can follow us on Telegram, and you can also log on to our blog, that is www.knowledgehouse.co, and we'll be coming up with more interesting and compelling videos. So please do subscribe our channel so that you won't miss out any more updates from us. So thank you very much for watching this video once again. Have a really nice day.